Good evening, everyone. I'm your announcer, Adam Jen, the critic, and tonight we're going to see a match of absolute biblical proportions to see which episode is the absolute worst of Amazon Fallout Season 2. Now, let's see our two competitors. On my left side, introducing the challenger. With a runtime of 57 minutes, this episode has went out of its way to purposely destroy, obliterate, eviscerate, annihilate the character of one of the most beloved characters in the history of Fallout, Mr. Robert Edwin House. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you our challenger, Fallout Season 2, Episode 5, titled The Wrangler. On my right side, we have the reigning and undeniable piece of hot cat piss trash that is responsible for the humiliation, emasculation, and castration of one of Fallout's most beloved factions, Caesar's Legion. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the episode that only needed 55 minutes to completely destroy Fallout, our reigning champion, Season 2, Episode 3, The Profligate. Now, boys and girls streaming across the world, let's get ready to see who shat the bed the most.
Alright, it's flashback time, this time with the OG Mr. House. Not the one from Fallout New Vegas, the one from Season 1. You know, the guy with the really big nose. So he's basically running a commercial, talking about how great everything is, blah blah blah. And he's going to say, oh, well, at the Lucky 38, I'm going to host all the most powerful people, Vault-Tec, West-Tec, and we're going to plot about how we're going to ruin the world. Oh, I mean, win the game of capitalism. I mean, save the human race. That's definitely what we're going to talk about. We're definitely not planning on trying to ruin everyone's lives. Since Cooper's idiot wife works for Vault-Tec, she of course decides to go. However, this very important, this very crucial, this very vital thing is going to happen, and it's going to be extremely important later. I need you to remember this. Cooper decides to go with her on the trip. This is going to be extremely important and definitely not stupid. I can promise you that. Those two are at the airport, and they're accompanied by Hank, who looks like an absolute jobber, and it makes me kind of feel like, man, Hank kind of sucks. The only reason he's actually good in the post-Fallout world is because everyone had to die in order for him to be, you know, good. Anywho, besides Hank being a total isekai reference, Cooper goes on ahead to this phone booth, and he talks to Moldaver. Moldaver practically says, you need to go on ahead and kill House. You, I think, the ultimatum choice. One life to save thousands, if not millions, upon millions and billions. Cooper is just kind of like, this seems kind of extreme. All I have to do is just take the cold fusion thing from him and just leave. And he just goes on this trip. Cooper and his absolutely trash, idiotic wife arrive at the Lucky 38. However, Cooper notices that Hank has a briefcase that's handcuffed to him. So, Cooper decides to follow, gets suspicious, until he runs until the big schnoz Mr. House. Only for that big nose Mr. House to say, Mr. House would like to have a word with you. They go to basically Mr. House's main area. He runs into Victor. Victor is like, oh, howdy there, partner. And this explains how the ghoul knew Victor. I mean, oh, this is such brilliant writing. It gets even more brilliant when the real Mr. House, the one from Season 2, is shown, and the imposter has been imposing him for 10 years. Yeah, so the plot twist is complete and utter shit. It makes absolutely zero sense. If Mr. House had a body double, which, you know, the whole point of body doubles is to look exactly like the person, why would he hire someone who looks completely different from him? Even if you make the excuse of, oh, but nobody knows what Mr. House looks like, that literally would make zero sense. This guy is the head of a multi-billion-dollar industry. Even if it's privately owned, he still answers to people in the company, and people would have to know what he looks like, because Mr. House did not just form Robco in a day. He's been having his business for a while. So if he has someone who's an imposter going in, they're going to say, wait a minute, this isn't the real Mr. House, he looks completely different. Plus, even if you're going to try to say, oh, well, he has, let's say, a lot of connections and whatnot, so he can silence those people, but he deals with West-Tec and Vault-Tec. Those people have so much infinite amount of resources, they would be able to find out, wait a minute, Mr. House is hiding something. This isn't the real House. This is a fraud. This is a fake. Even if you try to make the excuse of, oh wait, he could have had surgery and he could have faked medical records, that's why nobody knew. However, this would also make no sense because this was never even hinted at the show. This new Mr. House from Season 2 just showed up on the first episode, and we haven't seen the big-nosed Mr. House since episode 5. Oh wait, that's right. That's this episode! Even if you want to say, oh wait, remember in episode 3 in the bathroom, Cooper had no idea who Mr. House was, so that justifies this as foreshadowing. Remember episode 1 when the guys at the bar had no idea that was Mr. House? That justifies this twist. Oh, remember when Moldaver was talking about how tricky Mr. House is? That can count as foreshadowing. No, the fuck it doesn't. All three of those references that I made had no real foreshadowing behind it. The reason is because nobody acted any differently. They treated this like this was the complete 100% Mr. House. And I know someone could say, wait a minute, how's that a problem? It's a problem because I I guarantee you that if you didn't even have this twist, if you just had the season 1 Mr. House in this same position, nothing would change. Nothing. Zero. Heck, I'm pretty sure people who didn't believe in this theory just thought, oh, they just hired a new actor and just fired the one from season 1, probably because if people complained he looked nothing like Mr. House. This is a hollow twist that makes no sense. And the final part of why this twist doesn't make any sense, could you imagine Mr. House having this body double in, but yet somehow the body double was just supposed to predict and just know everything Mr. House would do, which makes literally no sense. Even in the final meaning of season 8, the whole thing of win the game of capitalism, how did this Mr. House know everything that was going to go down and say, but yet the body double was like, oh yep, I know everything, everything's perfect. No, that makes zero sense. Mr. House would be there himself to do this because this is a situation that not even his body double could predict. He couldn't even really predict every single move that's going to be played. Even if you go on and say, oh well, he could have had an earpiece or something or some listening device, that doesn't make any sense because let's say in the great meeting of win the game of capitalism, Mr. House the fake has no ear piercing on him. He doesn't have any mechanical implants. Plus, I'm pretty sure they went through a metal detector, so if Mr. House had any listening device on him, it would have been detected and thrown out. So no, this plot twist makes no sense. It's shit. Mr. House goes on ahead and talks to Cooper while Cooper's up there. He's like, oh, come on down. Cooper's like, no, I'm not coming on down. Only for Mr. House to say, oh, well, what about your daughter? Then Cooper goes down. They both have this discussion. Mainly it's Mr. House just talking. Mr. House says, oh, well, I know everything about you. I know you were in the Sino-American War. I know the horrors you went through. I know about the monster, the demon in the snow. I know you're working with Moldaver in attempts to kill me. With the power of my big brain math and my big fancy words, I know everything, except the most obvious plot points in this entire show and the entire franchise that was retconned because I already knew that in New Vegas, but fuck New Vegas, right? It's all about Amazon Fallout. Mr. House reveals that he's been purchasing cold fusion and he plans on using this to encase himself so he can be alive, let's say 200 plus so years later. This explains why Mr. House is even in New Vegas and even in the main timeline, presumably. However, this just begins to show you that, yeah, Mr. House is a complete idiot because he can't go on ahead and preserve himself. He needs this power of his strong, diverse queen to help him. Of course, this is modern Western media. What do you expect? So Mr. House goes on ahead and retcons the retcon of season 1 episode 8 that retconned the mainline Fallout. Mr. House doesn't think that Cooper's wife is the one responsible for the whole bombs dropping, which absolutely makes zero sense because in season 1 episode 8 she literally is the one who says, oh, to win the game of capitalism. Mr. House also tries to cover this bullshit up by saying, oh well, this isn't something that she doesn't want. Reality, when she's the one who basically instigated and think that this was a good idea. So yeah, this is Amazon Fallout trying to cover up the bullshit dumb writing that they have for this character and this idiot. Mr. House also goes on ahead and says that, oh, I think it was another power who's responsible, but I don't know who. We all obviously know that this is Hank. The only other reason I would be surprised if it was like, oh, well, China did it because we in the US in the story nuked them first. But this should be extremely obvious since this is after the bombings, after the Sino-American War. I'm not even saying China did it. It's pretty obvious that it was Hank under the orders of Voltec or maybe the Enclave. Mr. House should already have a decent amount of suspects of who he thinks is responsible for dropping off the bombs, but since it's a Fallout Amazon, Mr. House is a complete idiot, so of course he has absolutely no idea because we need that suspense. Mr. House also has this other big grand revelation about Cooper. Cooper is the chosen one. Yeah, so the protagonist from Fallout 2 needs to sit down. Cooper's the real chosen one. The reason Mr. House thinks that Cooper's the chosen one is because he's looking on through his stats, his probability, and he's realizing that Cooper is this mathematical, unexplained answer that is causing the delay of the bombs dropping, of the apocalypse. Cooper just going on the trip with his wife is somehow delayed the bombs dropping by a month. Mr. House just can't understand this. He's like, how does Cooper have this probability manipulation power? I don't understand it, and that's a problem. Cooper's now a chosen one. I want everyone to turn on Cooper / the Ghoul because everyone hates chosen ones apparently, but watch the people pretend like he's not a chosen one. Anywho, all that happens from this is that Cooper just goes on ahead and says Mr. House is effing crazy. Mr. House, the most calm, stoic, and pragmatic character probably of all of Fallout, just rage quits. He just acts like this absolute little kid. He's like, you're a killer, you're a killer, you're a killer, you're a killer. How could you do this? You're just not a cowboy, you are a killer. And Cooper absolutely freaks out. The PTSD is running and he just goes away. Cooper goes on ahead, gets drunk, then he ends up in a hotel with his wife, comforting
comforting him. Then Cooper goes in and tells her, we need to have a talk. Reality, I think this talk is just going to be Fallout Amazon just trying to save this character, Cooper's wife, because Cooper's wife is absolutely a terrible, horrible character. Even though, someone could say, well, she just couldn't tell Cooper. Yes, she could have. She had multiple opportunities throughout the show, throughout season 2, to tell Cooper, I don't want the bombs to drop. I'm totally against Vault-Tec doing what they were doing. So we're going back to the main timeline with the Ghoul and Lucy. Both the Ghoul and Lucy are seeing the Deathclaw. There's a second Deathclaw there as well, and they are trying to run away and escape. The Ghoul just goes on ahead, shoots a car, explosion goes off. The Deathclaws are complete idiots. They're like, what's that? And they act like dumbasses, which leads to the Ghoul and Lucy escaping. The next day, Lucy decides, wait a minute, why don't we just go back? Because I really need some drugs. The Ghoul absolutely looks at Lucy like an absolute idiot because Lucy is an idiot. The thing is that I know this is supposed to be for comedy, but no, Lucy just comes back to being her usual ignorant, dumb self. It's like if she doesn't have an OG Fallout character or Fallout New Vegas character to bury, you just see how terrible of a character this person is. Like, she's just not interesting whatsoever. However, the Ghoul decides, okay, you know what you need? You need some Addictol to get the, addiction out of her body. So the Ghoul gives Lucy some money. He just leaves and Lucy leaves too. The Ghoul goes to this bar owned by this black guy, or the black guy's the barkeeper, and he just goes and pours the Ghoul a drink and says, you're trying to run into those Deathclaws, but listen, it don't matter if Mr. House won, or Caesar's Legion won, or New California Republic won. I don't have to pay my taxes. So reality, nothing matters at all. Yeah, that's like Amazon's Fallout writer saying, hey, New Vegas, all that stuff, the ending of it, the story, yeah, none of that mattered. You don't have to pay taxes. Well, you do in real life, but this guy doesn't. The Ghoul tells the guy to go ahead and shut up. I wish the Ghoul just continued to drink, bashed a bottle over his head, killed the guy, then took all the alcohol and burned the store. Lucy goes to the store to try to go in and get the Addictol. However, she realizes the price for Addictol has gone up, so she does what all crackheads and drug addicts do when they don't have enough money. They decide to go on ahead and steal. So Lucy breaks into the store, then she goes on ahead and finds a power fist. So Lucy decides to go ahead and take that. While searching for the Addictol, Lucy sees this guy in a barrel dead. She finds the Addictol, then before she's about to leave, this random fat guy who's the owner of the store, or the presumed owner of the store, is there. However, I have a question. Why are there so many fat people in the post-apocalypse? Makes absolutely no sense. So the guy's like, what are you doing? What'd you see back there? And Lucy's like, nothing at all. The guy gets suspicious. It's obvious he killed the guy in the barrel. So Lucy goes on ahead. He's like, hey, don't do anything. Tries to pull a gun. Lucy shoots at him. And now this somehow counts as Lucy's first kill because the guy's dead. This absolutely makes zero sense. Lucy has Batman syndrome. If you don't know what Batman syndrome is, it's like, Batman can beat up people, do the worst things to them imaginable, but yet somehow those people live. Even though Lucy in this show has fought with people, she's gone ahead and shot at people. Even in this season, she had a sniper rifle, was shooting at the Great Collins, but I guess those rounds were non-lethal because the Ghoul was the one who killed all of them all. Lucy now has this moral dilemma of, who am I? I absolutely could not care about this whatsoever. This would actually be somewhat decent if this happened in the early season, like of season 1. For the amount of time to have passed, it makes absolutely no sense that Lucy has not killed anybody, but who cares about it? It's Fallout Amazon. Don't ever think about this. So Lucy goes on ahead, takes the Addictol. She's cured of her addiction, but now she's just vomiting everywhere. It's just gross. It's not really funny at all. And she goes ahead and meets up with the Ghoul. But hey, remember the Snake's oil salesman? Does this seem completely random? Because it is, because he just randomly shows up now. The guy who likes to go on ahead and mate with chicken. Yes, and I also found there's actually a really weird, disturbing terminology for the word chicken, but I'm not going to get into that because it's YouTube and I'm going to get censored. Anywho, he just basically goes on ahead and he's conveniently heading towards Big. And so he basically meets with the Fisto robot and he wants to do dirty things with them because that's all this creep wants to do. Then Hank spawns out of nowhere. He has a crowbar. The guy is like, why don't you just go away while we get busy? The creep gets his head bashed in by the crowbar like he's Bruce Wayne from Batman Arkham City. Hank then goes on ahead, puts the brain chip thing in the back of the guy's head, and conveniently it works now. So that now when he goes to try to capture Lucy, he can just put the brain chip thing on the back of her head won't explode. It's just very convenient since we haven't seen Hank in 3 episodes, but now magically he just reappeared and magically it all works out. Isn't that great for Hank? Such a great guy. We head back to the hotel with the Ghoul and Lucy. Lucy's still absolutely vomiting. It's disgusting. But then the snake oil salesman guy comes back. He looks more normal. He still looks like an absolute freak. He then decides to make a deal. He offers the Ghoul, okay, listen, we have your wife and your kid. However, we haven't experimented on them yet. We will not do that unless you go back and take Lucy back to her vault and then you come back and get the kid. Lucy's like, don't do this. Of course, the Ghoul obviously is like, yeah, I'm going to do it. This was obviously a part of the plan. Lucy's like, I feel so betrayed. I thought we were bonding. I felt like we were friends. I feel completely dead inside. obviously doesn't happen, and I'll get into that in a second. However, I just came to an interesting realization. What if Hank's plan did go through? This would make absolutely no sense, because one, the ghoul can just say, oh yeah, sure, I'll drop her back off, and then he just doesn't do it. So Lucy can just go on ahead and just say, oh, I'm back here, and she just go back to finding her dad. Or let's say that the ghoul does take Lucy back over to the vaults, right? And then Lucy could just go on ahead and leave because the people in the vaults are complete idiots. However, this scene could have been somewhat decent if this could have made Hank into an actual better villain. All Hank had to do in the past 3 episodes was just say, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go travel back to the previous vault, and I'm gonna go on ahead and do the experiments on the people in the vault. So I can make a controlled area with the brain chips so that I can bring Lucy back here and I can know that she'll be safe. However, that would make too much sense, and this is Fallout Amazon. They don't do anything good. So what actually happens is that after getting trained, Lucy somehow spawns up. The pure amount of girl boss energy would make Captain Marvel jealous. With the power fist on, she goes on ahead, punches the ghoul throughout the window. He lands to this pole, pierced through his stomach like Ra's al Ghul in the end of Batman Arkham City. Finally, we focus on Norm and the Vault 31 idiots. They arrive at an abandoned Vault-Tec building. However, it's not completely abandoned because remember the old ladies from season 1 that were berating Lucy? Yeah, so they're there and they're actually helping those people out as long as they don't mess with their farm or whatever they're doing in there. For the old lady says, oh, well, I know Lucy. Norm's like, you know Lucy? And she's like, yeah, Lucy's probably dead. And then Norm is like, that's not gonna happen. Lucy's the main character. The Vault 31 idiots and Norm go upstairs. Whatever happens is that they're trying to communicate with somebody. Norm is like, who you guys trying to communicate with? Dude, Norm is just absolutely unbearable. The Vault 31 idiots should have figured out that he really doesn't work for Bud, Vault-Tec, and everything, and should have just killed Norm. But that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, we have to focus on more of Norm. He talks to one of the Vault 31 idiots. She's like, oh, well, I've only been working for Vault-Tec for about a week or so, but everyone's so crazy. So they get the bonding. Norm basically goes on ahead and finds this place with the girl, and they find something about the room and says, oh, well, there's something related to F.E.V. So yeah, that's get brought back in the story randomly. Then the girl says, oh, you're not really Bud's successor, are you? Norm's like, how did you know? Well, it's because you're not crazy like everybody else. Definitely not because Norm was acting like a complete idiot and really was the worst undercover person of all time. But the lady leaves. Then the #1 wage slave hears this. And he's like, wait a minute, he's not part of Vault-Tec? And then he gets pissed. He finds Norm. He strangles him to death. Well, I wish he did, but he didn't strangle Norm to death. Norm is basically choked out. He's breathing. Norm barely survives. And all the information about the F.E.V. was lost. But none of that shit matters. We got to figure out which was the absolute worst episode of Fallout Amazon Season 2. This bout was insane between the two shitterweights with only a couple of seconds left and 12 rounds gone. We have a winner, and the winner for the absolute worst episode of Fallout Season 2 Amazon is Fallout Season 2 Episode 3, The Profligate. So what did it? What made The Profligate the absolute worst episode of Fallout Season 2 so far? Well, for this episode, Episode 5, we've already seen the complete assassination of Mr. House in the previous season, Episode 8, and plus, we all knew from that Mr. House was going to be absolutely terrible. However, in The Profligate, we have not seen Caesar's Legion, and we have not seen any build or anything towards them. So when we saw the pure character assassination of that episode, well, that had to also put it up. Plus, let's also talk about the stupid popping up and in out of nowhere. There was so much of that in the Caesar's Legion episode between with the ghoul that it made the ones that Hank had in episode 5 seem absolutely non-existent and it didn't matter. Plus, we also had episode 3 had Cooper's idiot wife was talking. She was saying nothing of importance. She was saying nothing of note, and she was acting like a complete hypocrite. So that made episode 3 worse than 5. Alright, so that's it for the critique. I will see you guys for episode 6. Goodbye.